Tonight, the mystery growing over what caused a Boeing plane, only 3.5 years old, to crash as it was departing Tehran's International Airport on its way to Kiev, Ukraine. The crash happening just hours after Iran launched those 16 missiles at U.S. bases in Iraq. All 176 people on board were killed in that crash. And tonight, Iran says it is not handing over the black boxes. Tom Foreman is out front.
The Ukrainian Airlines jet, loaded with 176 passengers and crew, takes off from Tehran before dawn. Minutes later, an eyewitness seemingly records it coming down. A bright streak across the sky, trailing flaming debris as it plunges to the ground in a ball of fire, with no survivors. God help us, he says. Quickly, the Iranians say a mechanical issue was to blame, and the Ukrainians post an online notice saying terrorism was not involved. But then it all goes sideways. The Ukrainians delete that message, and their president says a special investigative team is being sent to establish the truth and those responsible for this terrible catastrophe. Part of the sudden suspicion may flow from the timing. The plane came down just hours after Iran fired retaliatory missiles at U.S. military posts in Iraq. So a source tells CNN American intelligence agents, while not necessarily drawing any connection, are taking a look at the crash. Part of it is also practical.
This gives me the shivers.
Former federal crash investigator Peter Gohl says that eyewitness video in particular just doesn't look normal.
If that were simply an engine failure, it would be a much less intense light. There's an explosion in air just before it hits the ground, and to top it off, there were no emergency mayday calls from the crew. Apparently, it is very disturbing.
Other factors: the crew was so experienced, the Ukrainians are saying we do not even consider pilot error a chance. The plane was only 3 years old, and the Iranians, despite having reportedly recovered the cockpit, voice, and flight data recorders, so far are not letting anyone else look at them, and they are refusing to allow Boeing, which made the jet, to join the investigation. Boeing, Ukraine, Iran, the United States, is as if a whole year of tumultuous events somehow collided around this one terrible moment, potentially complicating the conversations about all of them. Aaron?